Has the Big Apple found a way to balance the scales of justice and public safety? This question has been circulating for a while now, echoing in the hearts and minds of its residents, especially in the wake of Mayor Eric Adams's recent assumption of office. New York City, a melting pot of diversity and the epitome of the American dream, has always been a city that has seen its fair share of challenges when it comes to maintaining equilibrium between justice and safety. In the center of this urban jungle rises the figure of Mayor Adams, a man of both action and words. Hailing from a background in the NYPD, where he served as a captain, Adams stepped into office with a well-defined objective, a promise that was not just spoken, but felt by many, the promise of reinventing the city's law enforcement landscape. Adams's tenure began with an air of expectation, with citizens and law enforcement alike waiting with bated breath to witness the changes he would bring about. And indeed, it wasn't long before these changes started to take form. His tenure, marked by innovative strategies and dynamic policies, began to shift the paradigm of law enforcement in New York City. His decisions, often bold and occasionally contested, not only demonstrated his commitment to his promise, but also showed a clear intent to challenge the status quo. These strategies, these decisions, they did more than just change the operational aspects of the city's law enforcement. They ignited conversations, started debates, and made people the role of policing in our society. It led to a renewed discourse on the dynamics between justice, public safety, and law enforcement. Debates that extended beyond the boundaries of New York City, sparking thought and conversation worldwide. Has the Big Apple found a way to balance the scales of justice and public safety? The question still lingers, but the discourses and debates sparked during Mayor Adams's tenure have surely brought us closer to an answer. His tenure, marked by innovative strategies and bold decisions, has sparked a renewed debate on the role of policing in our society. From the early days of his administration, Adams placed a strong emphasis on community-based policing. Recognizing the need for a more compassionate, understanding approach to law enforcement, he sought to transform the relationship between the police and the people they serve. He believed that the community and the police needed to work together, essentially becoming partners in the pursuit of safety and security. Adams thought that this was the most effective way to maintain peace and harmony within the city. He conceptualized community-based policing as a collaborative effort where the police force actively involves the community in problem-solving strategies. The objective was to foster an environment where the citizens do not see the police as an intimidating entity, but as their allies in maintaining peace and order. He aimed to cultivate a relationship that thrives on transparency, respect, and mutual understanding. He envisioned a society where the police force is considered as an integral part of the community, rather than a separate, distant entity. His advocacy wasn't just about fostering trust, but more about setting a new precedent for community-based policing. His ideas were revolutionary, and they were guided by the principle that trust is fundamental to community safety. The police to be perceived in a new light, not as an aggressive presence, but as a reassuring force constantly working towards community safety. Adams was a vocal advocate of the police being deeply involved in the community, attending local events, and fostering strong relations with the people. The idea was to ensure that the citizens feel safe and secure, knowing that their police force is working in tandem with their needs and interests. He advocated for the police to be seen not as an occupying force, but as partners in community safety. Yet his term has not been without controversy. As the city's commander-in-chief, Adams was faced with the daunting task of ensuring public safety while striving to maintain the delicate balance of civil liberties. In an intriguing twist, Adams found himself dusting off a blueprint from the city's not-so-distant past. He decided to rekindle a strategy that had been put to rest due to its contentious nature. This strategy involved the resurrection of specialized anti-gun units. These units, crafted with a specific purpose in mind, were a part of a broader initiative that the city had once embraced. Their task was a complex one, a mission that necessitated a nuanced approach to law enforcement. However, these had been disbanded in the past. What led to their disbandment were serious allegations of racial profiling, a concern that had plagued their operations and clouded their mandate. The claims were such that they had overshadowed the unit's primary objective. They were accused of targeting people based on their race, which led to a public outcry, and ultimately, their disbandment. But Adams, in his quest for public safety, decided to bring them back, albeit with a new mandate. He was keen to avoid the pitfalls of the past and wanted these units to have a fresh start. The choice was not without risks, but he believed in their potential to make a real difference. Their mission was clear and unequivocal. They were to get guns off the streets, a task that became even more crucial given the escalating gun violence in the city. However, this time around, there was a distinct emphasis on doing so while respecting the rights and dignities of citizens, irrespective of their race or cultural background. Yet his term has not been without controversy. Their mission? To get guns off the streets, but this time with a commitment to do so without infringing on the rights and dignities of citizens. Mayor Adams also recognized the potential of technology in law enforcement. He was a firm believer in the power of advancement and progression. He was not one to shy away from the wave of modernization. Instead, he chose to ride it, to harness it for the good of the city he had taken an oath to protect. His administration, always forward-thinking and innovative, decided to embrace the unexplored frontier of surveillance technology. It was not a decision made lightly. The choice to increase the use of surveillance represented a shift in the dynamic of law enforcement. They were stepping away from the traditional methods of old and ushering in an era of digital intelligence. The use of this technology did not just increase marginally, it witnessed a significant boost. The unprecedented rise in the use of such technology transformed the landscape of policing, bringing about what can best be described as an augmented reality. This new approach did not come without its share of controversy. Critics voiced their concerns over privacy, a fundamental right that risked being compromised. They argued that this technological leap could infringe upon the personal liberties of the city's residents. However, despite these concerns, the promise of this new era was too compelling to ignore. It held the promise of an evolved form of crime prevention and detection, a promise that Mayor Adams was determined to fulfill. This augmented reality of policing, although met with concerns over privacy, promised a new era of crime prevention and detection. Moreover, Adams's strategies did not exist in a vacuum. He was not a man who believed in working alone or in isolation, but rather, he was someone who understood the importance of collaboration, who saw the value in building bridges rather than walls. He knew that to create change, one cannot merely act as a lone wolf, but must instead join hands with others. He was a visionary who acknowledged that strength comes from unity, so he actively sought partnerships, and not just any partnerships. Adams was keen to collaborate with local organizations, entities that had a deep understanding of the community's needs, its pulse. He wanted to team up with those who were as passionate about making a difference as he was. He did not hesitate to reach out to community leaders, knowing well that these individuals hold a powerful influence over their communities. He aware that they could play a significant role in affecting change, and that together they could shape a better future. Adams's approach was not designed to merely put a band-aid on the problem. It was meant to dive deeper, to go beyond the surface, and not only address the symptoms of crime that were readily visible, but to delve into the root causes of crime. His aim was to understand what drives crime, what feeds it, and how it can be stopped from the ground up. This approach intended to create a holistic solution to crime, addressing not only its symptoms, but also its root causes. So, as we journey through the complexities of law enforcement under Mayor Adams, we find ourselves contemplating multiple critical elements. His tenure, so far, has been marked by a distinct emphasis on community-based policing, a strategy that significantly reshaped the dynamics between law enforcement agencies and the communities they serve. Community-based policing under Mayor Adams has been more than a policy. It's been a philosophy. It established the foundation for a more progressive, cooperative relationship, where the police are not seen as an external entity, but as an integral part of the community. The idea was to foster trust, mutual respect, and understanding, thereby improving the overall effectiveness of law enforcement. In this new policing paradigm, the revival of anti-gun units is another noteworthy aspect. This move brought a renewed sense of hope for safety among the city's residents. But it wasn't without its controversies. There were rising concerns about racial profiling, a social issue that has often marred the reputation of law enforcement agencies across the nation. The technological aspect of Mayor Adams's law enforcement strategy was characterized by an increased usage of surveillance technology. This marked the beginning of a new era in crime prevention. Effective use of technology not only enhanced the police's capabilities, but also raised questions about privacy and civil rights. The delicate balance between public safety and individual privacy became a subject of intense debate. And finally, Mayor Adams' collaborative approach, which allows for partnerships between the police, community members, agencies, and private entities, aimed to provide a more comprehensive solution to crime. His approach suggests that law enforcement is not merely a reactive force, but a proactive entity working in tandem with various community stakeholders. And lastly, his collaborative approach aimed to provide a more comprehensive solution to crime. In the pursuit of justice and safety, the City of New York under Mayor Adams presents a dynamic case study. It stands as a vivid paradigm of the intricate mesh of complexities and opportunities that saturate contemporary law enforcement's landscape. This bustling metropolis, a symbol of the American dream, is led by Mayor Adams, who has often been at the forefront of dialogues about security and public safety. Mayor Adams has helped to shape the city's crime prevention strategies, focusing on proactive measures taken from a place of understanding, compassion, and progressive thinking. This approach paints a broader picture of law enforcement beyond the traditional notions of crime fighting. Included in his methods are community-centric policies that aim to foster trust between the police and the residents they serve. Yet, the situation is a living, evolving entity, and with each passing day, it reveals new facets of itself. It's a real-time testament to the hurdles and prospects that exist within the law and order ecosystem. As we continue to observe the unfolding narrative, one thing remains clear. The conversation about policing in New York City and indeed the world is far from over.